Hello everyone, I'm your host Thomas28 and welcome back to Cuboid Outpost. So, as we left off last episode, we have completely automated the production of That'll Do, and in between episodes I have fully upgraded our gear to the That'll Do tier, which is actually pretty interesting. So you actually need to make a That'll Do smithing template to upgrade the, Wikidium into the That'll Do, but then once you do it, it's pretty good armor, pretty solid. And now that that's done, we can focus on the next sub-chapter of Chapter 1, Getting Started. Congratulations, you just about hit rock bottom. Have a free kebab on us. The only way now is up. We're going to have to go through a period of back to basics for a bit. We really need to get our access to more familiar resources sorted out as soon as possible. For the next while, we'll be going back to tried and tested techniques for extracting useful materials from the somewhat mundane ones we have available. Now, using all the wood we procured, we need to make a bunch of planks. Let me turn all of our oak into planks here. That should be good enough. Then turn this into some slabs. Let's add a bit more. There we go. Grab some slabs to make a barrel. Then we also need another crook. And we're also going to need a wooden hammer. I like that you can mix and match them. That's pretty nice. And then lastly, we need to craft ourselves one oak sieve. Now, for this next step, we're going to need a lot of sand. So I'm currently cooking a lot of silica dust to make into glass, and then we're going to combine that with more silica dust in order to make some more sand, as we need to get sieving quite a lot of this. Now, I believe we also need a mesh for this, right? But I don't actually see the mesh here, and it looks like first, we just need to take the sand, place it into the floor like that, and then use Ultimine to turn it into dust. And now that we have dust, we could take our water, combine that to make clay. Pretty efficient. Now we are going to need a better way to produce water and clay. Now we do have infinite water, but I want to make this fully automated to make it go a lot faster for us, because doing this over and over again is going to get very tedious. Now I wonder, is there a clay singularity? Clay singularity. There is a clay singularity, and it only takes 64 blocks of clay to craft, so that might be pretty good to get. And it looks like to finish off the other part of the quest book, I'm going to need more rotten flesh. So I'm going to have to wait until night to fight some zombies, but it should go pretty easy. For now, I'm working on getting 64 blocks of clay, so we can make ourselves one clay singularity and fully automate it. Now, I did figure out that you can actually hopper the dust into the oak barrel, and then pull the clay out, which is very nifty and very handy. And there we go. One clay quantum singularity. Toss it into my new That'll Do singularity resource generator for infinite clay. Well, you'd think you'd be able to get more than just a few. What is this? A reward. I have no idea what that did. Oh, give me a book. Curse of Bones. Chance to apply Bone Shield when hit. Interesting. I have no idea what mod that's from. Anyways, now that we have apples and rotten flesh, we can go ahead and craft ourselves a rotten apple. Now I am using the quantum transmutation chamber just to make a bunch of sand, because I'm trying to make a sand singularity, and it's not letting me take things out because these are too full. So let me empty these, take out that, put in that, take out this, take out that, and make a rotten apple. Now hopefully we don't need too many of these, because our bottleneck is going to be rotten flesh, but there we go, one rotten apple. And then after infesting some leaves, we're going to make a bunch of string. Pretty standard ex nihilo stuff, nothing special there, but it has to be done anyway. And we get a metric ton more silkworms, which is pretty good. And something super handy, now that we have trees, we can then turn the leaves into string and more silkworms, and we can turn the silkworms into more dirt. And then we can use the more dirt to make even more, you guessed it, silkworms. And we can repeat this process over and over until we get enough dirt to make a dirt singularity and have infinite dirt and never have to worry about making it again. And now for my favorite part of any mod pack. Sieving things. Lots of things. Now I do have to check. Can I sieve in a larger than a 1x1? Can we go up to 5x5? We're going to have to check that. Hello, Enderman. Goodbye, Enderman. Alright, let's see if this works. And we can. Perfect. Sifting 25 items at a time. And it looks like we're not getting much. Well, this is sand. We might not be able to get... Wait, no. We got cocoa beans. Sand. 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 There it is. Sand. Sifter. Sifter, Mr. Shifter. Sifting. Sand gets you cocoa beans into string mesh. And that's it. waterlogged gets you other stuff. But we need to sieve dust and not sand anyway. Of course though, placing all the sand and breaking it into dust is not a very efficient use of our time. So instead, we're going to take 2 stacks of dust, throw into our quantum collapser, and make a dust quantum singularity for infinite dust that we could then pipe into the sieving machine. Throw our dust into there, quickly collapse it into a dust singularity, and then we can easily throw it into one of these guys to make an infinite amount of dust for our use. Just like that, 1 stack of dust every second, and you don't even have to think about it. So now we can sift infinite dust and get infinite items. Not quite sure what we need out of this though. Now sadly it's time to say goodbye to the pulverizer. We've used it well, but now we need to recycle it into some create components so we can fully automate production from our sieve. We get 1 cog wheel, 1 andesite casing, a few redstone, tin, and andesite alloy. Now using that, we should be able to go ahead and make ourselves an auto sieve. I already forget what it's called. That is not it. And it's just called a sifter. Now we will need anything that counts as stone. How do I not have any stone? What counts as stone? And then after spending way too much time collecting dirt, we should be just about done with 128. And now I can compress this into our dirt singularity, and we can break down all of our dirt now into, let me just use, you're not doing anything? Oh, it's full of wackidium. And that'll do. Okay, I can use you. Perfect. To make infinite amount of dirt. Because we need stone. So now we can sieve all of the dirt to get little bits of pebbles. And now we can dump all of these pebbles into the AE system. Use that to then, let's see, andesite, diorite, granite, basalt, top. No regular stone. Black stone. I guess black stone will work. Black stone. In order to make a sifter, never mind, it does not count as stone. Oh, we probably have to polish it up first. Never mind. Okay, let me try andesite. Andesite. Into a sifter. Done. Now we just need a form of rotational energy. And with the remaining bits and baubles from our pulverizer, we have a fully automatic create sifter. So now we should be able to just throw a hopper onto this, throw a chest on top. That is not where the chest goes. Throw the chest on top of here. Let me grab my axe. Throw in all of our dirt in here. Then the dirt gets thrown into the sifter where it gets sifted, and it should just pop out. Okay, it's sitting in there, no problem, because that is why I brought this one. So now we could just come in over here, throw in another chest, and throw in this guy, and automatically get it all in there. Not the fastest, but it's fully automatic, and now I don't have to waste time sieving it myself. Then after waiting for my cellulose singularity to get processed, now that that's done, we could throw in blocks of cellulose into our sifter, and we can manually just remove all the dirt for now. Just like that. Take all of this out. And I also took out the sifter. There we go. So now we can sift down blocks of cellulose in order to get a variety of saplings. Now, the odds are extremely low, so it is going to take a while. Luckily, though, cellulose is infinite, and then we just need 1 of each to finish the quest. So it's fully automatic. I could just let it run for a while, and then we'll come back when it's completed, and I can work on other stuff. And after just a couple minutes, we now have 1 of every sapling. Task completed, and now we can get to mass desiccation. We should have enough bits and baubles lying around to cobble together a drying cupboard. If you're short a few parts, you might need to employ the recycler again on one of the solar generators or windmill generators on the roof. The drying cupboard allows for mass drying to occur. It can dry 8 things at a time. So after getting some dark oak, I think we have everything we need. Dark oak was the only thing we're lacking, and I don't even have to do any extra processing, because we have just enough gold and infused alloy to make energy tablets. So we can combine that into a drying cupboard. We can throw this onto the lawn for now. Boop. Drying cupboard. Dry lots of stuff. Now we can use this to... We can dry fish. We can make biltong, which I'm not quite sure what that is, but that gets you to leather, which is completely optional. But the main one is rocks. We need to finish getting granite, diorite, basalt, blackstone, and andesite, and then crushing it manually. That'll be pretty easy though, so we could just take this, grab a stack of that one, grab a stack of diorite, grab a stack of tuff. What am I missing? We already have the blackstone. I used the blackstone to make this wall. And the only one we were actually missing was the basalt. Basalt, there we go. Let's craft a little bit more of the blackstone for now. But there we go. Quest completed. Rocks. Rock on, sister. Now we can make ourselves any kind of stone hammer, just like so. And now we can crush the rocks into crushed rocks. We need crushed andesite, diorite, and granite. Andesite, diorite, granite. Basalt, tuff, diorite, granite. Where's my andesite? Let's make some more. And get to crushing. And there we go. Stacks on stacks of crushed stone. And now we can make aggregate using clay and our crushed blocks. Now using our infinite supply of clay, we can go ahead and craft those into clay blocks. Then mix that, put away the non-crushed stuff. Then we can mix our crushed blocks with the clay to make aggregate. And it looks like our AE system is completely full, which is going to make crafting pretty annoying. Luckily we don't have to do too much. So we still need, and then we need gravel. How do we get gravel? Gravel, coarse dirt. It must have to do with the aggregate. Crush cobblestone, gravel. Ah, there we go. We can take our aggregate and slowly dry it into gravel. It takes 20 seconds, so it's a good thing we have our drying machine to make it go a lot faster. There we go, a bunch of aggregate. And let's get to drying, and we'll dry it throughout the night while we wait for all the mobs to go to sleep. Empty. Why does it need something? Alright, I'm a silly goose. You have to hook it up to power, and then it does drying. I don't know why I guess it uses, heat to dry everything, instead of what I assumed was just, passive air cooling to dry it. But hey, now we're going to produce gravel. And now that we have a bunch of gravel, it seems like the best way to do this is to just throw it into your crafting terminal like so, and then craft it at a 3-to-1 ratio, because all the other methods yield a 25% chance, so 3-to-1 is not bad compared to 4 to 1, which is pretty solid. And now that we have our flint, we can make a flint mesh, which we should be able to use in the create filter as well. The create one is 6, and the regular the regular string mesh. And I think we're going to do that. Once I have more, I could do this to make it a bit easier on myself, but for now, we can just set up the automatic one to start sifting out our other resources. So we'll go ahead and grab our create flint mesh, the create string mesh, turn that into a flint mesh. Now that we have the flint mesh, we also have to make this one, which is the string and 6 of the flint, so I guess we might as well upgrade all of these. And once we have enough flint to craft all of these, we can go ahead and upgrade the entire 5x5 array. But now that we have access to flint meshes, we can get zinc and tin, copper and nickel, and silver and aluminum. Tin is going to be useful, obviously, for andesite alloy to build some create automation. Everything else, though, I'm not quite sure. But we're actually almost done with the chapter. Well, technically the sub-chapter, not the full chapter. And now, with our flint meshes, we can sift sand to hopefully get some crops. So now we have cactus, sugarcane, and bamboo. That's the name of it. I was reading bamboozled, and my mind suddenly was like, I don't know what the name of that crop is anymore. And now, with our flint meshes, we can sift dust and start getting A2 materials. Now, I'm mostly doing this right now for the gunpowder, because I need to combine gunpowder with our carbon nanotubes in order to produce redstone, and we need 180 redstone to make a redstone singularity, which means we'll never need to farm for redstone again. And now that we built up a large backlog of gravel, we can now sift through the gravel to get even more new resources. Lapis, coal, apatite, cinnabar, niter, sulfur, and I think that's it. Just 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We already had access to coal, but now we have 5 new minerals, which is pretty useful to get. Now the question is, can we produce these infinitely? And the answer is no. So we're going to have to be automatically sifting gravel with higher tier meshes at some point to get the rest of these resources. Now, before you ask, yes, it is possible to make singularities of all of the stone, which I'm doing next. with the first one being calcite. I just need to finish getting the rest. It's 2 stacks for all the stones, which is going to be pretty important later on when we want to produce infinite metallic resources. Now we could throw in diorite for our diorite singularity, granite for our granite singularity, tuff for the tuff singularity, and it looks like we'll need some more for andesite, a little bit for basalt, and some more for blackstone, but we'll get those eventually. And now that we have infinite diorite, andesite, and granite, we can now sieve all of the crushed versions to get our ores. Now, this subchapter was pretty short compared to the first one, which means we'll be able to combine this episode into the next one, so we can set up the create automation to fully automate the entire process from production all the way down to crushing and sieving. As that should be everything. It is. So now we can make silver ingots, nickel ingots. Oh, that's what it means by half a dime. I'm silly. Copper, tin, and zinc. And don't forget the raw bauxite for aluminum ingots. And now with the final piece of copper, copper number 4, we have completed subchapter 2. Oh, we have to make andesite alloy. 18 of it, in fact, so let's make that real quick. We're gonna need a lot of it anyway. Andesite alloy. We have 1. Take this. Take our zinc nuggets. Convert that into that. Take the zinc, combine it with the andesite, make the alloy. 18. And now, chapter completed, getting going. Fully completed. And now we can move into getting creative. As you can see, it's also pretty short. It's mostly going to be focused on, whatchamacallit, fully automating all of our processes, which should not be too difficult. Now, can we make this without... No, you need a little bit of gold for the goggles. How much gold do we have? Gold. Just enough. Now, can I smash this into a plate without a press? No. And we need an iron for the press. Is there another way to do this? Stressless goggles. Stress. We can make it out of nickel plates. Interesting. And we can use the smoosher. Perfect. Smoosh. Smoosher. Nickel. Nickel plate. Nickel plate. Into engineer's goggles. Slap those bad boys on. And now we can really start doing some create. Now we are going to need a pretty big backlog of materials to actually set everything up. But I think the first thing we're going to have to do is just set up a very large water wheel array to generate the needed stress. Now then, a critical component in create is going to be belts, and belts are made from kelp, and kelp can be found by sifting sand in a waterlogged mesh, like this. It's pretty slow because the rate is very low, I believe. Sand in the mesh here, if we take a look, sifting recipe, the other one, waterlogged sifting, it's a 5% chance. So it's 1 in 20, but we just need a single one. That's a sea pickle, not quite sure what we can use that for, but we just need a single piece of kelp, and then I can infinitely regrow it using our bone meal supply. And there we go, a single piece of kelp. Perfect. And now, since I already have this, dilapidated area, we're going to use that to grow our kelp supply. We can make it fully automatic. Now then, everything we have in our inventory should be everything we need to produce iron. If you follow the guidebook, this pretty much outlines the very basic way in Create to produce iron nuggets from gravel. If you really need to know how to do it, following all these steps is the best way to teach it, but now we're going to build it. We don't really need to, well, when I say we, I mean you don't really need to see me craft all the individual items. They're all very standard for Create, nothing too crazy going on here. It's mostly just the final contraption that we're interested in. Alright, so this is what we're going to be using to power the system. Now, I think I need to fix it just a little bit. Oh, that doesn't count as a solid block. Interesting. So let me try swapping this over here. We can put you here. I'll pretty it up later, and let me grab a little bucket of water to fix this, because you can see here, now that this little one isn't moving, it's generating 0 SU. But if we add the water back, our total stress capacity is now 768. Now it's not too fast, we're only moving at 8 RPM, but we can just clock this up later. It doesn't really matter too much. Now it's all going to start with a that'll do singularity resource passive generator. I left it in the chest over there. We're going to throw in a gravel quantum singularity. This is going to let us produce infinite gravel for the setup. Now then, in order to produce infinite iron ore, it's very simple. So we're going to take a shaft here, and then we're going to take a second shaft here. We're going to connect those with a belt. Then, using this funnel, I should be able to, in theory, do something very simple. I just put this guy... Actually, I need one more block. Should have grabbed some blocks. Okay, we'll just use the sifter for now. So the sifter here. Throw this guy here. And it's going the other way. Let me move it around real quick. So that goes there, and let's see. So if we do this, and then put the funnel here, and then throw... Don't want to put the funnel there, we just need one. This is very important, so let's see. If I put this guy in here, we now get the gravel. Perfect. So we're going to turn that off, grab this, grab that. So we know it works. So now using the belt funnel, we can pull the gravel directly out of the singularity resource generator. Now, all you have to do from here is take a fan and take some water. So let me grab some water real quick, grab that, and we just have to wash the gravel. Now, using the rest of our belts here, we can actually push this out a little bit more, and then add another shaft right there to get it moving again. And now using the rest of our dirt, all we have to do is come up here, place an oak drawer 1x2, followed by an andesite funnel on the side. Then use your wrench to have it point this way, and then on this side right over here, all you have to do is add a fan that's going to blow this way. Actually, need to move this over by 1. So we need to move this right here because we're going to be doing washing. So we need water in the way. Okay, it does not have to be that far away. And I want it to be a little bit closer. So we'll put this guy here. Then go up and over. Add in a little bit of a water supply over here, like so. How the water just flows straight down, and we'll dig a little hole. And fix that so it stops flowing out of the hole. Just like that. Now we need to supply rotational power into the fan, and we need the fan to blow this way. And the speed of the fan doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter how slow the setup is going, because it's going to be running forever. And now we could just connect it right there to get it going. Now let's see, is the fan blowing in the right way? It is. So you could see we're now washing. Now, what should happen is this, if I block this, not like that. So now that we have the encased fan doing the washing, we should be able to just throw this guy in here. It's going to start pulling the gravel out. The gravel is then going to get washed. And if it finishes in time, it should go into the funnel. And it's going a little too fast. So, to fix this... Oh wait, no, it's not going in there at all. Perfect. The timing is actually perfect. I'm actually quite astounded with myself. Wait, I think that one just went in there. No, it's working. Perfect. So, as you can see, as the gravel gets washed, it has a very small % chance to go from gravel into flint or iron nuggets. A 25 and 12% chance. We're going to let this run infinitely, and as you can see here, as soon as they get washed, by the end of this, they get pulled into the drawer. Now that we have iron nugget and flint in the drawer, the only thing that can ever enter is iron nugget and flint, which means it'll infinitely produce iron nuggets and flint forever, with 0 inputs. And it's a bit ugly, we'll make it look better later. And there we go, it looks a little bit cleaner, and it works. No issues yet. Now all we have to do is come out over here, grab our flint, and finish the quest. Don't be anemic. And with that, we just need to turn this into iron dust. I don't know why we needed to turn it into iron dust. Putting an iron nugget and a wacitium chunk into the quantum transmutation chamber causes a reaction at the atomic level, effectively breaking down the atoms in the wacitium chunk in such a way that they alchemically transform into iron filings. Gotcha, I see. So, we could take this stuff here, then mix it with some wacitium. So it's a good thing I did make the wacitium singularity, although I did start dumping it, but we do have a bunch of wacitium chunks available, which is nice. Let's see, take out all of this, take out all of that, swap you for wacitium, swap you for iron nuggets, mix the two together, and we get iron grit. Wonderful. Now, I believe we could just smelt that directly into iron ingots. Perfect. So this essentially lets us 9x our yield when you think about it, because otherwise you have to take 9 iron nuggets to make 1 ingot. But this way we can turn 1 iron nugget directly, well not directly, indirectly into an iron ingot. So to finish off the quest, we need 8 iron dust and 8 iron ingots, so I probably should have waited for that to finish, because this is pretty slow, but at least it's fully automatic. And now that all the iron grit is smelted, we have officially completed Getting Creative. What am I missing? Oh right, this thing. For some reason it's not working. You can see I have the goggles here. Maybe if I put them here? Put them there? Maybe if I throw them out and then put them back? There we go. Quest completed, stressless goggles, Getting Creative, done. Another sub-chapter completed, and now we just have 4 more to go. I'm mostly looking forward to Getting Digital, because that's going to be the main one that lets us make some more storage, which is going to make crafting a lot easier. But it looks like we're missing... but I swear Getting No Tinks done, which is all the way over here, when we get gold. So once we have access to gold, we can do that, and we're going to start this one next episode. Alright, so next up on my list of things I want to automate, we need to automate the production of andesite, diorite, and granite into the alloys, into the metals they produce. Because if I do it manually, I'm probably going to go insane, because each singularity for like the zinc, brass, yada yada, takes 2 stacks of ingots, and doing this manually is very slow and only yields like 8 from 4 stacks of each block. So we're going to fully automate it. That way later, we don't even need the setup. We could just produce stuff like zinc from the singularity generator. So, similar to this setup, it starts off with our singularity generators, of which we have 3. 1, 2, and 3. We're going to go ahead and put them, probably right here works. Doesn't really matter too much. Actually, let me move this, as we need the millstone and then the andesite funnel. This is really going to determine where we put these. So we're going to do a line of 3, and then we should be able to put another line of 3 with the millstones here, and then do another line of 3 with our singularity generators. This one's andesite, this one is granite, and this one is diorite. And now if we put an andesite funnel on these, on the side, perfect. And then we set these to pull. They now fill with the resources. Now then, we need to supply these with some stress. So let's go ahead and take this big cogwheel and put it on this side over here. That way, since we're going from a big cog to a little cog, this is going to speed them up by quite a bit. Now, I don't recall if these little ones actually fit, and by fit, I mean like run off of each other, so we're going to have to see that. And then I just need to do this guy. I need to connect this to that, which we can do like so. Oh, that is annoying though, that they get stuck on top. Okay, it only leaves one though, so it doesn't matter too much. There we go. So just using a shaft and a belt, we've now connected these, and these are moving, and the rotational power does transfer. Perfect. So now we have the millstones producing the crushed diorite, granite, and andesite, and I realize I'm going to need... Actually, I should be able to craft it right here. Perfect. We're going to need some more funnels. And now, all we have to do is put the sifters right here, with these guys right here, some more funnels, and now if we set these guys to pull, they should, but they're not. How do I pull out... Yeah. Oh, I think it's because they don't qualify as legitimate. There we go. Now do it. Oh, why aren't they pulling? They should automatically be pulling out the crushed versions. Okay, there we go. So instead of using the tunnel, I just opted for a hopper. So now we can hopper the items into the sifters, and now they're crushing it into the pieces of stuff. So now we have aluminum pieces, copper pieces, and tin pieces, because I believe the other ones are a lot smaller in terms of ratio, right? Okay, interesting. So when you run the crushed andesite through the flint mesh, it's a 25% chance to get zinc or tin, but when you run it in the iron version, you actually lose a percentage chance by a lot. It goes down by like 8%, which is massive. And then if you do this one, they keep decreasing. Huh. I find that very funny. So the flint mesh gets you the highest percentage chance. And there you go. The percent chance is 25% for both, but now we get tin and zinc, copper and nickel, and aluminum and silver. And there's no way to package these, like, easier, right? We can do 4 of them in a mechanical press. That works. But I think the setup is fine enough for now, because all I really needed to automate was the crushing. I didn't want to have to be doing this by hand, placing out all the blocks, using the hammer, and then sifting it. This does all the steps for us in a very neat little setup, which is very nice. So now we could just filter these out into a drawer, into some 2x2, well not 2x2, 1x2 drawers. And I think we can hopper those out with the funnels. Okay, the funnels do work here. Perfect. So let me grab some 1x2 drawers to set that up. So now if we add these guys and then set them to pull, they go on top. That's not what I wanted. Okay, how do I get them to go into the drawer? You would have to use more funnels, right? Or I could just use a hopper. Hoppers seem to be the best way to... Well, hoppers are pretty slow, but they produce it pretty slow, so it should be fine. Now if we just add the hoppers to the back, they get pushed into the drawers. Perfect. And is it the best setup? No, not really. Is it the fastest? Also no. Does it matter too much? Not really, because if you take a look here, if you go into JEI and type copper singularity, it only takes 160 ingots to make copper singularity, which means if you just leave this running, eventually you'll never need this machine again, because then you'll be able to produce infinite copper for free, especially at these rates. In the That'll Do singularity generator, you can get 16 copper every second, where this is processing maybe 1 copper like every 15 seconds or so, which is pretty slow. So this is mostly just to automate the boredom of having to do the entire process myself, because you need to do it 3 times, 1 for each block of materials, and now I don't have to do that. You could just leave that running while we do other stuff, and then eventually come back, and it's done. Which I find to be pretty handy. I think that's what I like a lot about this pack. It gives you easy ways to generate infinite resources. You just have to do it manually, or in this case, set up an automated way to get those resources the first time around before you are rewarded with a very fast way to get it. And 16 items per second is pretty good for how much work you have to put in. But as you've guessed, it's that time. I'm your host, Hamas28, and I'll see you all next time.